Hey, welcome back to Apple Seeds with Jim Fessler. Doing my first live right now, so I'm going to be interesting to see how this goes. Haven't done this before. What are apple seeds? Apple seeds are thoughts and ideas or discussions that you can plant, nurture, and grow within yourself or your business to hopefully grow into a nice financial, abundant future for yourself. And today I'm going to have a conversation with a new friend from Anchorage, Alaska. Her name is Jayelene Harris. And we're going to talk a little bit about who Jayelene is and about life in Alaska and a little bit about a real estate investment journey that she's on along with myself, and maybe a little bit about the Project Forward program that we're doing together. So with no further ado, let me bring Jayelene up. Hi, Jayelene. Welcome to Apple Seeds. I'm glad to have you here today.
Me too. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the time that you're giving to this.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come and have a little bit of discussion with us. So like I mentioned in the intro, we're kind of new to meeting each other. We had a little bit of a talk, but not much. And so I just kind of want to ask right off the bat, who is Jayelene Harris? I know you're in Alaska. Is that where you grew up? How did you end up there? Do you have family there? And can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure, Jim. Before I go into answering those questions, I want to say one of the things that I appreciated about you is your love for your family. And I think going through that foundation, because it speaks to me, family is a big part of why I'm doing what I'm doing. And
thank you.
Yeah, one thing I want to, I guess, have people look at is that men can lead in this way, right? To lead with their hearts open. And I think you're a great example of that. And I definitely want to get more into that after I answer your question.
Right. I appreciate that tremendously. Thank you. I tried. You choked me up. I try to emulate everything that you just said, and I think that comes from being raised by two great parents and having a great life with them and having their influence on me. And so they taught me how to be a good man and a good dad, and I give a lot of praise to them for that.
It's noticeable, and this is our first time actually meeting, and yeah. I could see that in how you speak and how you wrote. And I guess for me, I'm wanting to, as far as even with real estate, is how do women encourage men like you in this space? Because it's such a necessary, we need it. Women need it, children need it. And I think men have not heard it or have not been taught that their masculinity and how they provide and protect is not antiquated. It's absolutely critical for humanity. And, my question, one of them was, how do I support men like you and have you lead other young men into being that way? Because I don't want it to be a dying breed, because that affects all of us here.
That is doing what we're doing right here, I think is a big key to that. I think from my standpoint, being able to connect with other people such as yourself and other people I've talked to and have conversations, those interpersonal dynamics between us, and being able to realize that life has challenges. We're not always going to agree on everything, but we can agree to disagree on things at times, and we can find our way through different different scenarios when you're going down a path. Raising kids, a relationship with your spouse, a relationship with your parents, all of that is different. All of that's different. We've talked a little bit. I have 3 daughters and 7 grandkids, and every single one of them is different in a personality, and so you have to learn to respect that. And I guess that's where I get some of that from. I don't know. I get my empathy from my mom. I'm a very empathetic person, so I get my empathy from my mom, and sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. But I think it serves me well in more ways than it goes the opposite. So that if that helps a little bit there, you doing this, watching. We've already had a bit of a conversation about you, and I know you have a 15-year-old daughter, and we've had a bit of a conversation about the dynamic between the two of you that I've got to see through a video, but that was an amazing thing. And to have to see that dynamic and to see that connection with a child that you were there is a true love that shows through the way you communicated. You have fun together. I'm gonna bring that up again in a little bit, but there's just a lot. There's a lot there. I think me and you, for the little bit that we know each other, just the probably less than 5 minutes worth of conversations we've had or watched videos of each other, I think we made a connection where we can have a really, I think this is going to be an enjoyable talk. I have been looking forward to being able to sit down here and talk with you about life in general,
Yes.
what it's like to live in Alaska, and about maybe doing what is real estate like in Alaska. But so are you born and raised in Alaska? Is that where you've been all your life, or where are you from?
I'm originally from Hawaii, but my parents, we all moved up here when I was about 8, turning 9. And then I've been here quite a bit, but then of course I left when I joined the military. So I served for 4 years.
I'm representing your home right now.
Oh, look at that. Is that
Oh,
Hanalei on your shirt?
yeah.
Oh, have you been over there?
I'm going back in October, and we've been there. We've been over to all the islands a lot. I've already been over there once this year. We were over there in February, and we're going back in October.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm from the Big Island originally.
So I've got to go there once, and we were there for what we call Hurricane Lame, because it was Hurricane Lane, but it screwed up our whole trip, and I didn't even get the opportunity to say I got to go through a Category 5 hurricane, because it blew away before it got to where we were on the island. We were on the Kona side, and it didn't get to us. But sorry to interrupt you. That was just
It's a beautiful place. I mean, I love Hawaii, and it's especially because I'm coming from the dry side or Kona side. So my family is my mother's side, and my, both sides are from Kona. And I think it's kind of cool that you're like, I just was there.
Yeah.
What island, since you've been to all the islands, which one is your favorite? Because each island has a different feel, I'm sure, as you can tell.
Originally, Maui was.
Oh, yeah.
And God bless Lahaina right now.
Oh, yeah.
That's a devastating thing. And I'm so glad we got to be there in February. I took my whole family, all my kids and grandkids, to Maui for a week. We went over there for a week and just spent we spent some time celebrating, and we had a very special reason for being there at the time we were there, and that's a little more personal, but it was a very good time. And so Maui was my original like. Maui got way more like it's gotten way more like Honolulu now, way more commercialized. I live in Las Vegas, so I don't even go down to the strip. I grew up in Zion National Park, which is a tourist area. Um, so I've done the tourist thing. I'm not into the tourist thing at all. So it's my favorite now, I think, is Kauai, but I really want to go back and explore your home. Um, like I said, we didn't get to do a lot while we were there, and I found that there looked like there was a lot of area on the Big Island that I would really, really enjoy. And the little bit that I know, me and my wife would love to have a place there at some point in our life. And the little bit that I know, that's probably where I would end up is probably on the Big Island. So
that's awesome, because I actually started looking at some properties. I haven't looked at, Maui because of, like you said, the devastation. It's just it has been too painful for me to even think of. They're in a vulnerable place, and so investors that have less than, caring reasons.
desirable. Yeah, I
Right.
agree.
And so I really couldn't look at it until maybe, I don't know, a few days. And I was like, let's see, let's look at Kona. Like, let's just see, are there any distressed properties or, 90 days on the MLS? And, I would love to have a place there too on Kona side. My family actually is up on the dry side, but down in Honolulu is where my mother's line, our ancestral lands, and then up the coast is my father's side. And of course, for me, I think maybe just genetically, it does something every time I'm there. And
I don't know how you can't. I don't know how you can't go there and be. I'm an island person, anyways. I mean, I think you know, I don't know. I just think I got some of that genetic DNA somehow floating around that I don't know where it came from, but both me and my wife are that way. And um, I don't know how you cannot go there and just fall in love. I mean, about it. The culture of your people from there is in I love the whole aloha spirit of. I mean, I understand the tourist side of it too, where the native people feel a little pushed back by that because you see how people treat things, but we don't. That's not how I do things. I really like to enjoy the culture and meet the people, and I don't like to be in the tourist areas. I like to go and meet where the people are, and just enjoy that. And if you can find a better people, so to speak, um, ethnicity, I guess. I don't know. I don't know exactly how you say it, but the Hawaiian people are amazing. And maybe that's a little bit of our connection that we got already. I'm picking up on your Hawaiian. I'm picking up on your aloha spirit.
there's something familiar. You're like, I kind of know that. I don't know you, but I know the flavor potentially. But even if you go back, if you believe about Atlantis time or Lemurian time, the Hawaiian Islands are connected, with the Lemurian side and with the Pleiades, the constellation and the stars there. So
Yeah.
if you're into that stuff, it's genetic, and there's memory that may not be to your conscious mind, but our bodies have a lot of coding. And I think
Yeah.
that's the beautiful part about connecting with each other, that we hold keys for each other to unlock, because we're meant to do things and to help our planet heal and to advance. And I think, before we even spoke, we were like, this is going to be great. There's something there.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
This, well,
Definitely.
and I do live at the ninth island, so
Yes, you do. Exactly.
so technically I have a little,
See,
oh, there
you
you
have a
go.
lot of Hawaiians there.
Yeah,
You
there
know,
it
and
is. I got my ninth island Hawaiian on me. That's what I got.
what's your family's ethnic background?
Um, about as white bread can be. Um, multi-generational American. Just my we have my grandma, um, who passed away at 93 years old just a couple of years ago. She actually passed away on the morning that my fifth grandson was born.
Oh, wow.
Um, so she was 93 years old, and I like to say that she left us early enough to go tell my grandson what a great family he was coming to, and so she passed away that morning, and he was born that afternoon, and but
Wow.
she was into genealogy, and she has one side traced back to 1492 in genealogy, and in the English background a little bit. I know paternal side. We only go back to my great grandpa's as far back as we can get. But we do know that there was some German heritage in the family there, and I have a tiny bit of Cherokee Indian blood from
I was gonna just
from
ask you. I was like, you have First Nation blood. I know you
I,
do.
I got it. I got a little tiny bit of Cherokee in me from my paternal grandma.
There
Um,
it is.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know much about it, but I do know there's an itty bitty there's a itty bitty bit of a Native American in me. So it's
That makes
So I guess like I'm a Heinz 57. I guess is what you would call me. I'm a mixture of a lot of different cultures, but aren't we all in a certain sense? So
What's kind of interesting, even with the German side. So my daughter's father, he is German and Pennsylvania Dutch, and
hmm
and even like my grandmother, her name, even though she's Hawaiian, her name was Hedwig, which is a German name. So
hmm
through my life, I've had lots of German influence, or I went to Germany when I was in the military as well, and so I think it's great
what
that it's
what
just
branch of military were you in?
I was in the Air Force.
In the Air Force? What did you
Yes.
What did you do for the Air Force?
I worked in services. So services, they are responsible for bear base setup, which basically means we'll go into a new place that needs barracks, lodging facilities. They also do laundry, dining facilities. So that's what we would do, work with civil engineering to get that set up for before we're
Basically,
going.
all the logistics of a new
Yes.
facility or whatever when you go in and do a base. Well,
Yep.
thank you for your service too, because I do
I
appreciate that. As
thank
a very very red-blooded patriotic American, I appreciate that you served our country, and you deserve all the accolades for taking the time to do that. I do appreciate that.
I'm, I joined when I was 18 and I didn't realize the benefits over time. I mean, I guess I knew kind of, but not to the extent. Just being able to have served so literally 20 plus years ago, 25, something like that. It's a long time ago. But for me to be so incredibly proud to have been part of that, to have connected with a brotherhood and a sisterhood that, it doesn't matter what branch we're in, that there is care and wanting to serve our brothers and then continue to serve. And I think what I've learned in the military is still being applied through real estate. And I'm super grateful that I've had those skills basically ingrained because I was still a teenager
Yeah.
that are still being used today. And even having, I'm not sure if it was the military or they just complemented each other, but having determination and drive and you know, even right now, I lost my ability to walk a couple months ago, and just still like, okay, I'm learning to use a cane and a wheelchair. Um, let's still go do some real estate, you know, like I find it kind of strange. And, you know, I've said this on other podcasts, but even needing to, you know, go through the difficulties of divorce. So I started that this year with my husband, and it's incredibly heartbreaking. And still yet, or in spite of, how can I still serve others and be a help, even though this is also going on at the same time. So
Right.
I think the military has offered or just sharpened that resilience, or to keep pushing. Like, yeah, you fell down. Yeah, this is challenging. You know, like even my daughter's grandmother passed away, and I was very close to her. She was my mother-in-law, and losing her in April as well. It's like, okay, God is trying to do something. I don't know what it's doing, but but it actually, those things that happen, they were catalysts for me to actually move me towards the Gator community. Because I don't think, if I was still married, I don't think I would be in Gator or connected to the sub-2 community. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
So
Just a different. Well, it's one of the things that I've talked about a little bit this week. I talked on another podcast, and I did a Facebook post myself on it because it's something that I've been going through, and I can hear in your story right there that that's something that you're experiencing right now too. Is you? I called it when I was a kid. We played a game called King of the Mountain, and King of the Mountain was basically, you found a pile of dirt and your buddies tried to knock you off you tried to stay on top while your buddies knocked you off of it. And I was equating King of the Mountain to this business for me right now, as you stake your claim on something. So I us you myself being in the Gator program, these mentorship programs, and you in sub 2 also, um, you're staked a claim on, I'm going to make this happen.
yeah,
And then the overwhelm that comes from staking a claim on something, it doesn't matter if it's that or anything, whatever it is, you you've you've you put this claim out there and you said, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to conquer this mountain. And you have this overwhelm that comes from all different angles at you. You mentioned that you lost your ability to walk, and that and that you're experiencing going through a divorce, and then losing somebody who, losing your mother-in-law who you're incredibly close to. Those are all things that have nothing to do with what you've staked your claim on, but they have everything to do with the overwhelm that comes at you to knock you off of the mountain and make you find your way back up again. I have in my job, was perfect. I'm in the automotive industry, and I've been running a shop, and we had everything was running really smoothly. And right after I started this, my lead tech left, and he was a really key component in making everything run smoothly. And now it's turned chaotic. And so, in the middle of trying to hold my ground on my stake, I've had that come up. But what I find is, if you're present enough in your mindset to realize that that's going to happen, you can see it coming to an extent. Or if you don't and it knocks you down, you're at least present enough to know that, hey, what do I need to do to get myself back up there again? And our conversations like we're having right now, the accountability group that we have with Project Forward, the community and for you and sub 2 and both of us in the gator communities, it allows us to be, maybe there's somebody on the other side of the hill there with a rope throwing it over and helping pull you back up the mountain again, or you have another buddy that's, pushing you back up to the top of the mountain. And then the cool part about it is eventually, if you don't quit and you keep finding those, you're going to stake your claim and you're going to be solid. You're not going to get knocked off that mountain anymore. And, we're going to be at a level that we're doing extremely well at where we're at. And the cool part about that is when you get a little bit higher, your vision can see farther.
Yes.
And you can look at that vision and you can go, do I stay here? Am I comfortable here? Or do I move on there? Look at that mountain. I didn't see that mountain over there. And the view from there must be the view from here is amazing. The view from there has got to be wow. And I know I'm going to get that overwhelm and everything that's going to come again. And it's going to be exponentially greater. But we have a skill set. We've learned a skill set to hold our stake at where we're at now, and we can go there. And through our community, we have built the ability to grow that and climb that next mountain a little bit easier, And I see your strength in what you're doing and advancing yourself with those things and getting through those issues that you're going through, and you can feel it and see it, and I commend you for that.
I really believe that it really has been the Gator tribe and the community that we have with PACE that has given me the ability or the energy to do as well as I am, because I think without it, I could have easily fallen into despair or helplessness. And especially because my husband, this part is super painful, but my husband almost dismissing our relationship as if nothing happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, and not being seen or recognized, that almost like you didn't exist. And I think for me, if I didn't have this avenue, connecting to other people, I think it would have a different effect. And I think this is how I see it, that God pulled me out of that, me finding out that my husband, his unfaithfulness, but it was like God was like, you don't belong here. I'm going to yank you out. I know this is hard for you, but I'm going to yank you out because I need you to go this other direction. And this is what it felt like, I'm molding you to do something. And being in this, and even listening to Pace's, he had a video on YouTube, and he was talking about his mentor, Bobby. And he was telling Bobby about how he wants to help businesses, not just acquire businesses, but how he can help, how Sub 2, the rest of the Gators, can help other businesses to keep their businesses potentially and change lives in that space. And it actually made me tear up, because it's like I've known that I meant to actually do more than what I was doing with my husband, because my husband, I kept being the one to want to push. That's just naturally what I wanted to do. It's like, okay, we're here. Awesome. Let's celebrate. Oh my goodness. Let's keep going. Let's keep going until the goal for me is not just money. Money is great, but for me, especially when I lost the ability to walk well, like I still can walk, but it's very painful, and I'm often better in a wheelchair. But I thought about, because I was in the ER a couple of times, and I was like, what if I die? Or, I was like, am I okay with what happened with life? And I was thinking the thing I would be most sad about is that I didn't impact the people that I needed to. Like, that was the pressing thing. Not that I don't have a husband, or I don't have this, or I don't have, it was, I didn't finish impacting who I'm supposed to impact. And
we we have a we have I think that's where we connect a lot. I'm hearing that, and I'm like, I heard some. I want to bring this up real quick because I heard this the other day, and I want to share it with you because I think it fits a little bit of what you're going through. And I'm paraphrasing it because I don't remember exactly how it was said, but it says, pain is not given to us to destroy, pain is given to us to develop. And I thought about that when I was hearing it. And when you think about what you said about being pulled out of a situation, and as painful as it was, but that pain wasn't to destroy you. That pain was because there was something better meant for you, and you needed to go through. You had to go through that pain to get there, and pain doesn't always seem that way. I mean, but when it's the different levels, But if you think about it, it doesn't. Pain is to help. I mean, if you start to step on a piece of glass, it's going to cut your foot, and you feel it, and you start to feel the pain before you actually do it. It saves you from it. And that's sometimes sometimes you're moving too fast and you don't even, it's worse than maybe it should be. But it's yeah, I mean, I look at what what you're saying and what you're going through, and it's all growth.
Yeah.
I think it goes back a little bit to what I just said about having, being on the mountain and being at a level, and then having the vision for a higher level. And it's, you were at a point where you and your husband were on different journeys. And if that's the case, it's, you shouldn't be dismissed for who you are, but it's, the thing is who you are, and who somebody else is. My opinion, anybody else that's watching this program, anybody that you run into, their opinion doesn't matter of you. I'm a big fan of Deion Sanders, and I'm watching what he's doing. I always have been, and I'm watching what he's doing.
I just sent a text of a picture, an image of him, and he says, "Don't let my confidence offend your insecurity." It's funny because I just sent that to one of my best friends today.
That's exactly what I follow him on Instagram. I follow what he's doing at Colorado, and how he's being shot down, and people are, and I've made comments on his posts, and I've had people come at me on his posts, and I said something to one person, they were like really negative on him, and they came at me about it, and my response back to him was, yet you're here on his page.
Yeah.
Why? If that's how why are you here? I mean, if this isn't, and he is doing what you mentioned at the very beginning of this about what, how you saw something in me, and I see that in him. He's taking young men and he's making them men, and that's something we desperately need in this country.
Yes.
We desperately need people to be responsible for their actions, to know, he came in. I mean, I loved when he came in the first meeting he had with all his players, and he basically said, I'm coming in here, and I'm telling you right now that most of you probably won't be here when this all plays out, because we're setting an expectation. And if you don't meet the expectation or are not willing to step up to it, then you're welcome to move on. And I loved that, because I did that with my, I did that with my kids growing up. I gave them an expectation, and they were meant to follow it. and they were around friends that didn't have those kind of expectations from them. And I can remember my oldest daughter, and I can remember, I did this with all of my daughters, but my oldest daughter had some really close friends that, they were still some of her best friends. But when they were just coming out of junior high and high school and they were starting to drive and stuff, my daughter had stricter rules for her, being home and being in the house on time. And she had, I can't think of the name, her curfew, was tighter than most of her friends were. And I set her friends down and I said, listen, her name was Carissa. And I said, if Carissa's going out with you and you guys are driving, she has to be back in the house by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever. I don't care if you guys come back with her. I don't, you're more than welcome to come home with her and hang out. I don't have a problem. But her time is to be here at X time, whatever it was. If it was 10 p.m., she has to be home at 10 p.m. And if she's with you and you're driving, then you need to know that she has that responsibility to her family to be here, which means you have the responsibility to her as her friend to have her here, because you don't suffer the consequences of it, she does. And if you're not going to be willing to do that, then you need to be, as a friend, you need to let her know that you need to drive your own car, or you need whatever. I said, because her responsibility to us as a family does not change because she's with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I set that expectation, and I see him doing that. And I think kids in general need that. We have too many people that want to be their child's friend and not their, not their parent. And I see that happening. And so it's a big thing that needs to happen in this country, in general. And I hope it does. I mean, I really do. But, we're talking a lot about life stuff, that's kind of, but it relates to, let's jump for a minute, at least. How did you get into the sub 2 and Gator communities? Where did that come from? Do you have somebody else that you knew that was doing it, or did you just come across it on the internet? How did that come into your life?
Really, it was from the catalyst of what was going on with my husband. So my husband and I, we own a jerky company that's based out of Georgia. And had we just stayed together, and my finances with that company would have just been, how should I put it? It would have been sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
But since that, being torn from that situation, or freed, however you want to look at it, basically freed from, because it felt like, because I wanted to move more, I felt like a dragon in a metal tiny cage. And I remember telling my husband, I was like, please just let me out. Please let me move. And because the way I tend to do is move quickly. And so when that happened and the divorce started, it was really the issue of, how do I make money?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the pressuring points. Like, okay, I have no money now coming from my husband or accessing our company. How do I sustain myself? And at the time, we had a rental that actually my brother had asked if we wanted to purchase, and we were going to purchase it. And I had been waiting for my husband. I was like, can we buy this house? Can we buy this house? And we didn't get to it. And for whatever reason, my husband didn't, he kind of was dragging his feet. And I was, he was the head of the house, and I followed. Like, I genuinely believed that to let my husband lead, even at the point of detriment. And that's what happened. And so anyways, I had that house, and I wanted to move out. And even though my husband was like, I don't want you to move out of here, I'm like, well, I need to pay for the mortgage. And anyway, so as we are going through the divorce, I go back to my brother who has the house, and he's been waiting for me to buy it. And then I stumble onto Pace's work in June, July, this whole notion of subject to the more existing mortgage. And I was like, I am so thankful I didn't get a traditional loan that is, right now it's around 6-7%, but I'm really thankful. So we're in escrow. So I'm looking forward to actually getting that under my company's name. And that's 2 doors. And I just got a renter in for a year lease in July, and I just signed my other one for the bottom unit. And so they're both cash flowing. Actually, the top unit paid for everything and was already cash flowing. And then the bottom unit definitely is a bonus. So that's really, yeah. So, I mean, it's like the resources were there, and that's the other part. It's like, I know I have resources. So how can, even with not being able to work, so me wanting to do the repairs for the downstairs unit, well, now that I can't physically push and work like I was accustomed to, it's like, okay, so this last week or so, maybe last couple of weeks, I've been in the process of onboarding an operator, which I personally haven't done any hiring. Like, even for our business, my husband would hire people, but not for the positions that I wanted him to hire for, which was more managerial or strategy or mental leveraging, right? The operational stuff, which is lower level, which is necessary for a business, but you need strategy. So that was one of the main roles that I played with the company, was being the chief strategy officer. So my goal and my intent was projecting 6 to 8, usually even 12 to 18 months out from where we were, and be able to provide that to my husband in doable ways, giving him the steps. And, for a while, he was having faith, to be like, okay, this is what you're saying, and then implementing. And I'm really thankful to my husband, because I learned a great deal of business with him. That was one of our strong points. And he and I both got to play around and learn how to do this from the ground up, because we built that company together. And me seeing in real time that every single idea I brought to him always made us money. 100%, which was like, oh my goodness, everything I write down happens, and it has made us money exponentially. And I didn't have that prior to my husband, as far as on the business side, not as confidently as I know now. And that's why when I came into the summer, I was like, I know I can. I'm used to this amount of money because I've seen it. So I'm thankful that my husband helped me get to, the ceiling. He broke a lot of financial ceilings for me, and I'm taking that into this space. And
That's good. It's good to hear that, even though that's a pain point,
it is.
there's also a lot of positive there.
Well,
That
I
you
love
can
my
take.
husband deeply,
Right.
and I don't want him to suffer. And if but being with me causes him suffering,
Right.
then by all means, I don't want to do that. And I know that, I think maybe because I'm accustomed, with growth comes a great deal of discomfort that you were talking about, or even potentially pain. But again,
Right.
how we conceptualize and give the meaning of pain really determines how we cope with it or deal with it, or assign that if it's good or bad. And I think for me, knowing that when we expand incredibly quickly, or when we're aligned and where we're meant to go, it moves incredibly fast, and it can be so scary, right? Because you actually just trusting that the universe or the divine intelligence knows where it's taking you, and you have to, if you want to, allow it to take you, versus like, stop the train, this is too fast, I don't know what's going on, I'm out of control. But I think, because I've, thank goodness for experience through life, that I know that sensation means that life is, it's like, that's where favor comes through. You're being favored in that moment, when you have that much momentum pushing you forward. And it's not meant for you to control it, because what you're being asked to do and your purpose is bigger than you.
Right.
It's way bigger. And I think my husband wasn't ready for that. And I told him that it's okay, that because a lot of stuff, right? Like we're talking a lot about life, like real estate and children, but they all are intertwined, and
Yes.
business evoked so much insecurity or confidence issues or triggering of traumas. And I think people don't realize that business is a way to help you spiritually grow.
Right.
It's an avenue.
It is definitely. Well, I don't want to cut this short.
I know.
And I think we need to do a part 2 for sure, because I don't even think we've really got into the meat of what me and you can get into. And I definitely want to do a part 2. Unfortunately for me, I'm kind of up against a hard cut time. And
me too. I have another meeting to run off to.
So I want to, normally I would say I would like to finish this with maybe you leaving me an apple seed for somebody to take with them. But I think you just did. And I want to just kind of hard cut at where we're at right now and come back with a part 2 and take it up, and take another, another 45 minutes or an hour or whatever it is that we have, because like I told you before, and we talked about at the beginning of this, there was a connection that we had that just seemed like this was going to be an amazing conversation. And, it's been a wonderful weekend for me. I'll tell you, I've met 3 new friends this weekend that I basically did not, prior to this weekend, I did not know. I had, maybe had, me and you had a couple of little contact conversations before that. And I just want, I want to thank you for your time that you've given me so far. And I don't know when we're going to be able to work out trying to do a part 2, but it needs to be very soon. And we need to have that. We need to have this conversation continue, because I think we're just barely getting into the meat of what you and I have to be able to share with each other, and hopefully share with somebody that's out there listening that can garner something for their business or for themselves personally. I think I get the feeling that we both share a deep connection in the fact that helping others is a priority in our lives, and being able to do that through this medium, or a medium of using the real estate investing that we're doing and helping somebody out in their family situation or a housing situation or whatever. If that's a way we can do it in that way, I think it's tremendously fulfilling, and fills me with a great amount of gratefulness that I would be able to do that. And again, I want to thank you for your time. If there's anything that you want to share before we close out real quick for now, is there something that you'd like to share real quick before we close out?
Sure. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for emanating your masculine heart. People need that. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I promise you in part 2, we're going to talk about the comedy team of you and your daughter.
Okay. Or maybe I can bring her on. She would be
maybe,
a hoot.
Yeah, well, we might have to bring her on in part 2, because because man, did I enjoy having you two together. Like I mentioned to you earlier, it was like George Burns and Gracie Allen, or if I'm a little older, so I remember them, but there was a lot of great comedy teams, and you guys seem to work together like that. So, Jayelene, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful evening, and I look forward to having a part 2 to this very soon. And if I could ask you to just hang out for a minute while I close this down and make sure we get an upload on this. And
that'd be great.
I would say, and for those of you that are watching or have been watching or might watch in the future, please come back for part 2 and join us as we dive deeper into the journey of life and learning how to become real estate investors. Thank you. All right.